Hi there, welcome back to the Key Insights from the Little School of Big Change. We are here today with insight number 3, which I'll get to in just a minute. But first I have to say the Little School of Big Change opens in 12 days, just 12 days. September 23rd is the first day of class. And I also want to tell you that if you have been watching these insight videos and you're finding yourself thinking, man, I wish these were longer. I wish there was more detail, maybe more stories. I wish these went in more depth. Maybe had some nice music and pictures to go along with them. Well, you're in luck because there is a 4-part video series that's actually beginning tomorrow, Thursday, September 12th, called Change That Sticks. And you can sign up for those videos. It's basically a movie I made. It's about 2 hours of total video time, but they're split up into 4 videos. So it's a really beautiful series that each video builds on the last, and it starts to walk you into these insights that I'm sharing in much more depth than I can do in my 10 minutes or less Facebook Live. I'm supposed to keep it at 10 minutes or less. So sign up at thechangeseries.com. I will put that link here. It's here already, I think. Thechangeseries.com to make sure that you get those videos. And starting tomorrow on September 12th, they'll be delivered to your inbox. I think it's roughly every other day or so, every 3 days, you'll get a new video, and they're really great. So today's key insight is your brain is a machine. It's a machine, and so, duh, of course, it acts like one. It behaves like a machine. So what's behind this insight is this. The understanding that I share in the school that helped me and that's helped so many people find freedom from anything that's having them stuck, right? Anything that has us stuck is the only thing we can be stuck on is our own thoughts, our own mental content, our own experience, right? And we so easily get stuck and tangled in that. So the understanding that I share that begins to free people from this, that opens things up so that habits and anxiety and long-standing issues begin to fall away. That understanding isn't exactly psychological. I mean, there's psychology involved, but we aren't looking at the psychological and doing anything with it necessary. What we're really looking at is what's beyond our psychology. So what's beyond the content of our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors to a much bigger question, a much bigger space of, wow, what's creating all this? Like, what's it all about? Where is it really coming from? How can I really insightfully see this in a clear and deep way? So we're not hanging out in the playground of the psyche at all. We're looking bigger than that. So it's really a spiritual understanding. And what I have found after sharing this for a long time, and what I found myself personally as well, is that what gets us kind of caught up or sometimes seems to hold us back or get in our way of seeing this huge spiritual reality, of seeing who and what we are beyond our habitual thoughts and feelings and behaviors, what gets in the way of that at times is our psychology, right? Getting tangled up in what our mind is telling us and how it's working, and mostly not even so much what our mind or brain is doing, but what we make of that. So, for example, our brain is really repetitive. Now, that's for very good reason. The whole purpose of your brain is to keep you alive, and it better do that repetitively or you're dead. So, of course, it's a habitual, repetitive machine. It's also trying to be very efficient because it's very serious about its job of keeping you alive. So it's trying to just, new stuff is a little tough. It just likes to go with what it knows, right? Now, how that looks, in a sense, for we humans is that we often have very habitual, repetitive thoughts and feelings. And of course we do. We all know that. But what I hear and see all the time from people is them sort of using that as evidence in their own heads that this must be true, this must be important, this must be something I need to listen to. So I'll hear things like, well, I've been having that thought my entire life since I was 5 years old, since my grandpa told me that I was no good at driving the tractor outside and that I'd probably have to find some other hobby. It's been with me since then. So, and what they're getting at, their reasoning is like, well, why else would this thought be with me my entire life, basically, if it wasn't important? If I wasn't supposed to be listening to it and paying attention to it and viewing it as true. And that's so compelling, isn't it? I mean, that makes so much sense in a way, except that it doesn't work that way. When we start to see how, now this is a thought in this example that's creating suffering and pain for this person. So when we get a bigger sense of like how a mind and brain work, we can start to finally look beyond them. So when that person, I just made up on the fly, when that person sees, oh no, actually, like when my grandpa said that to me, it pressed all these buttons and my brain kind of caught on to it and thought it was important. And so forever after, it's been telling me that. It's just a machine, right? It's just a machine that's now kind of conditioned to spit out that thought. And because me and my innocence, I thought that thought was important, I pay attention. I pull up a seat and pop the popcorn and I'm in there listening to it every time it's there, which just further kind of conditions the machine. So little things like that, just little things. We don't, again, it doesn't matter what the thought was so much or where it came from or why grandpa said that or any of that, but just having that sense of, oh, this is how it is all the time. Oh, now I get it. That's why that's happening. Not because I should pay attention to it and let this hold me back in life, but because I have a machine in my head and that's the way that machine works. So that's just one made up example, but you can start to see how getting a feel for how our brain works and how our mind works, what minds do, what brains are here to do. It is remarkably consistent and reliable across all people, right? I mean, I know there are differences, and there are differences in the content and the output, but the function of the brain for everyone alive is to keep them alive. How a mind kind of repeats and interprets and all of that, content that comes through, there's a ton of consistency in that. And when we start to see that, we can relax. We don't have to be so tangled up in it. And as we're not so tangled up in our psychology and what our brain is telling us and how our mind is working, that's when it gets really, really good. That's when it gets amazing, because that's when you're like, oh, I hear you, mind. I know what you want. I know what you're saying, but I'm not listening to that right now. And then we get this bigger glimpse of what's beyond our brain and our mind and our psychology, which is where change really happens, which is the source of everything beautiful and everything new and all the change and freedom and peace and everything you could ever want. Sounds good, huh? So this is one of the things that we see a ton about in the Little School of Big Change. So if you want to hear more about how your brain and your mind work so that you are kind of like, oh, that's just what minds do, because that's kind of one of the things we say in the school. That's just what minds do. It's huge, and I would love to have you in class. So all the links are here. You can pre-enroll for the school and ensure your seat. People are pre-enrolling already. Make sure you have a seat. You also save $49 if you pre-enroll. So you can do that, and make sure you enroll by Thursday, September 26th, because that's the last day to enroll for the fall course. And if you want more insight videos like this and a lot more depth, check out the Change Series. It's at thechangeseries.com. And again, those videos start tomorrow. So thanks so much for listening. I'll be back here next week with another key insight. Have a great week.